table.
It's so fun to be back. You know what? This is kind of giving me life right now.
I know, right? It's fun.
I have been so excited about this all week to record another episode.
Well, there's something about, we talk a lot of Marco Polo and stuff, but there's something about being together.
Yes. Oh, because like we hardly ever see each other face to face, like in the same room. We're always texting or Marco Poloing, right?
Yeah.
So yeah, this is way fun.
Yeah, this is
I
better.
love it. Okay, so I had one thing that I wanted to talk about or clarify from last week.
Okay.
Yeah, because when I went back and listened, and I kind of felt bad, okay, because I called my mom a terrible human or a horrible human. I can't remember exactly what word I used. But here's the thing. It's very complicated, and you know this.
Yes.
My relationship with my mom is extremely complicated, and she is a very complicated person. She is a deeply hurting person.
Right.
She loves the gospel so much.
It's like all she has.
It's all she has. And she clings to it for dear life. And I wonder if most people have somebody in their life that is like this.
Oh, I'm sure.
But like she puts it in ahead of everything else.
Well, the generation she came from,
yes,
that's what they did. They lived and breathed it.
Yes,
to a fault.
Yes. And I see that the church has hurt my mom so terribly. And I won't really share her story because it's her story. Yeah. But I would say that she even recognizes that the church has hurt her and that there are things about the church that hurt her. But she thinks she is fully believing that the church is her only source of happiness and that she could never find happiness outside the church. I wonder why she thinks that.
Yeah.
Do you?
I don't know.
I do.
I know.
I know exactly. I was like, you really don't know? I'm joking. I mean, what is it with the freaking church that they make us fearful of life outside the church?
It reminds me of a speech or a talk we just heard by Brad Wilcox.
Yeah. That does remind me of that.
I mean, have you ever heard someone so angry?
Oh my gosh.
He was so angry and he was spewing fear into the youth.
The fear. I mean, when he said, if you leave the church, you will lose everything. And he repeated that twice. Everything.
So absolute. Everything.
Yes. Yep. And I was talking to my daughter about it. She didn't listen to the talk, but I just kind of told her some things that he said. And I said, do you think that the youth, like these kids who are listening to him, that they can see through that? And she's like, yeah. She's like, I think most kids these days,
I hope so,
can see through that.
I don't know.
It feels so manipulative.
Yeah, but they're still kids, and they're the ones that are showing up to these firesides are the faithful ones.
Maybe.
Most of them are the ones really trying.
But don't you think there's also ones who are like doubting, grappling, really trying to stay? So they're like, we're going to go listen to Brad Wilcox.
Absolutely.
I mean, you know what's funny is I really used to like him, and
Me
that
too,
that really fit the grace talk. That really
grace talk.
That was really big for me.
So powerful. Yes.
So
me
what
too.
happened? What the hell happened to him?
I don't know, because the church is, the apologists, they tried to get away from everything he was talking about. It's like he reverted 30 years back to church doctrine.
We went back to the 90s, what we grew up in, hearing all of this bullshit.
It's really bad.
The thing he said about race, I was literally just, you've got to be shitting me. Like,
why didn't the blacks get the priesthood sooner? That's the wrong question. What about the white people? What about us poor white people? Why didn't we get it sooner? It's terrible.
Yeah.
Terrible.
No white people were waiting for the priesthood.
Oh my gosh.
No, I mean,
he is the worst.
The black saints in the early days, they were helping to build the temple that they could never enter. They were paying tithing. They were laying bricks.
Faithful.
Physical. Like, they had members of their family die that they knew they'd never see again because they were not sealed to them.
Work, right.
They were faithful, believing. They believed this bullshit. Yeah. And so their feelings were so valid. Like, even though we know that it's all bullshit. They thought, I can't be sealed to my spouse or my kids. They have a baby, it dies. What then?
Yeah,
they never get to see that baby again. So they were taught that they were not good enough to be.
You can give us the 10%. You can do all the work.
You can help.
You can serve and do all this, but you don't get any of the blessings.
And then they're like praying for new revelation to hopefully be. It's just.
My 12-year-old daughter, she's just like, Mom, what's this all about? And
so she saw it.
I'm like, honestly, let's have a conversation. Yeah. Well, she saw what I share.
Oh, yeah.
And she's like, so the blacks couldn't have the priesthood? They couldn't go to the temple? I'm like, oh, yeah.
She didn't even know.
She didn't know.
Yeah, as a 12-year-old, yeah.
I didn't know until
the 2000s. It's not surprising that a 12-year-old didn't know. Yeah.
So it's bad.
And then the bullshit about trying to make girls, oh, God. I can't stand anything more than the pandering and the
why don't you mansplain
patronizing
mansplain it to us, Brad?
The patronizing of girls and women. Guess what? You're the only ones in the whole world that can go to the temple without the priesthood.
Mm-hmm. What are you talking about?
What?
Oh, he's the worst.
What? I mean, really?
Do you know what really
blew my mind?
The part that made me sad is when he's watching his little girls pretend to play church,
and he made a joke
and
about
he says, you know, how uncomfortable that made him to watch them pretend to pass the sacrament. And then he says all other churches,
yes, are pretending.
They're pretending. They're pretend playing to play church. And I just thought,
I thought the church.
No other church can have God or Christ. Only us.
Right. It's all fake.
It's all fake.
Pretend.
You're just pretending, and how sad.
I really thought that the church was making efforts to, be allies with other churches.
I think they were.
Yeah.
But I think it's for show.
Oh, yeah.
I mean, it's all for show.
Yeah, I believe that too.
And Brad's actually just showing us the church's true colors.
The church's true colors.
They're going to say this, but really...
Yeah. And I've heard people say, oh, Brad's going to be in so much trouble. I don't think he is. I mean, he's in trouble with the people.
Well, he got called out.
But I don't think he's in trouble with the leadership of the church because he did not say anything that they don't believe.
Yeah,
fully.
It'll be really interesting. Well, where do you think he's getting his material for the talk that he's given multiple times?
Yeah.
Many stake leaders... many leaders have
for
heard
years.
him give this talk for years and years and years. He continues to give it. So
that's the thing that blows me away
he's not
worse
doing anything
than
wrong.
Anything else is that nobody stopped and said, "Hey, Brad, this is not a good look for you."
But did you see those poor people on the stage?
Oh my gosh!
Him?
Yeah.
If they could have melted
into
the
he
seats,
kept going.
They got lower and lower, and their hands are, cringe.
So they recognized it.
Oh, you could, yeah. If you look at it, their body language is so uncomfortable.
Yeah. The guy, at one point, he's just like,
yeah.
Sorry, I'm doing facial.
I know.
You can't see me.
He's covering his eyes. He's trying to hide. He doesn't want to be there.
Yeah, it is so painful.
It's bad. So go find it. It's on YouTube.
Yeah, if you haven't heard it.
On February 6th, 2022. Yep. Brad Wilcox, Youth Fireside. It's terrible.
It's really terrible. So if you don't want to be completely triggered, don't go see it. But,
right, that's true.
And honestly, I think we're all dumber for having listened to it.
Yeah. You think it's going to get better, it doesn't. It gets
I
worse.
lost brain cells listening to it. I just really felt like I just wasted. Anyways.
He's written books. He's very high up. He's in the General Young Men's Presidency. Yeah. I mean, he has a lot of influence over the youth.
But he wasn't funny. None of his jokes were funny. He
was coming from anger.
Yeah, I just don't think the youth were buying it. But
yeah, I hope so.
That's my hope, really. And honestly, I guess we probably should be happy when shit like this happens because I feel like it just speeds up the process.
Well, I did have some people who are very active respond to my video of him saying that was cringy.
Me too.
That was gross.
Me too.
I'm like, hey, people are paying attention.
Yeah. I was surprised by multiple responses I got on Instagram to things that I shared. And I'm
always looking to see who's watching my stuff, and my mom and my sisters, and they don't ever respond. They're watching it. Yeah. They're looking at it.
Yeah. Because, their silence is all they know how to
if you want to be enraged.
Oh, man.
So
anyways, that's the church that my mom grew up in, and that's why she behaves the way she does, and she has so much guilt and shame and pain wrapped up in her glorious joy of the gospel, and it has strained I think, every relationship she has.
She's not trying to be hurtful or mean, but
she's not trying to be terrible.
This is all she knows how to do.
Yeah, it's really difficult. And
really,
I do still love my mom.
She tries to show up and be as much as she can a part of you guys' lives as best as she can.
She does, but
it's not what you need.
No.
It's never been what you need.
No, and I've really tried to be honest with her and get her to get some help. She needs therapy. She needs, I sometimes wonder it's somewhat of a generational thing.
For sure.
And then a huge part of it is the church. And I mean, our relationship was strained way before I left the church, right? Like, it's no different, actually. Yeah. My mom has actually been really pretty accepting and loving as I left the church. But the church is all part of that. So I just wanted to clarify, because I really sounded like a brat. Like, and I think people can empathize or they have these people in their lives where it's like so complicated, because it's like, I do love this person, right, but like, it's so hard to be in a relationship fully with them because it's not healthy. It's toxic. It's hard.
I don't think you sounded like a brat, but I know a lot of the story. Yeah. So I can see where you're coming from, but... Yeah. It is what it is. It's very complicated. Mothers and daughters are very complicated in the best circumstances. So.
Right?
Yes.
And maybe that's why the name of our podcast is really great. The Dissident Daughters.
Right.
Because being a daughter is, we haven't always been the best daughters.
Challenging.
But it's, So.
Whatever. I've been a kick-ass daughter.
You have been a kick-ass daughter.
Whatever.
We have disappointed our mothers, our parents.
This week's topic.
Yes.
Parenting.
Yes.
We can unpack a little bit about that.
Yes.
So,
yes.
Growing up in the Mormon church, and being born into it, and what that means, because you're not being really raised by just parents. You're being raised by the church and all the leaders, and 3 hours of church every week, where you're hearing things repeated over and over and over since you were an infant, like from nursery on up. I mean, you're getting so much. So I wanted to, the indoctrination is brilliant.
It's very deep. It's just all the way.
I wanted to share this quote and see if you've heard it. I'm sure you have. David O. McKay, prophet, right? No other success can compensate for failure in the home.
Oh, yeah. I knew so many people that had that like quote up on their wall, like right when you walk in the door.
And how many times did you hear that at church?
Oh, all the time.
Relief Society lessons, Young Women's lessons. Yeah. I mean, it was all about being a mother, growing up, being a mother, staying home, raising your children to be righteous. Yeah. Children of God. Yeah. So, good luck. Yeah. I mean, that's how. So when I went into parenthood, that's all I knew how to do. So I continued that to mother my children. How I was mothered and how the church tells you. It's pretty, they have a pretty, nice checklist of things you need to do. Mm-hmm. So growing up, I made a list of things that we couldn't do. My parents enforced rules, right? So here were some of the things. Of course, I think most LDS people did this, but they didn't, it's not like commandments. So
yeah, but some people are more extreme than others. Right. So I want to hear your list.
So my family's, and I went over this with my husband too. We were talking about, so no swearing. Okay. No rated R movies. And
no rated R movies.
One time, me and my one of my friends, we were 18 and we wanted to go see Something to Talk About, Julia Roberts, in a theater. Oh. But it was rated R, and I agonized at the ticket counter if we should go see that, and we ended up not seeing it because I just couldn't live with myself.
Yes. Yep. I had the rated R movie thing.
Right?
Yep. Oh yeah.
Big. And that one kind of was a prophet thing. Like they said, don't watch R movies or something. It's not a commandment.
Yeah. But... they definitely talk about it in the Strength for Youth. It's like your media, the stuff you're listening and watching. Yeah.
Music, listening to and watching. Yeah. That brings me to TV shows. We were not allowed in my house to watch MTV. Oh. So of course.
You wanted to.
Because what's on MTV that I'm not supposed to watch?
I know.
So I would sneak it at night when everyone's in bed, and I would go downstairs and I would see it, and I was like, this is dumb. Yeah. And Three's Company stands out to me.
What? We watch that all the time.
My mom said, we're not going to watch Three's Company because it's people that are living together, not married. Even though they're not like in a romantic relationship. Anyways,
oh my God.
We couldn't play face cards, which has totally changed now. But that was a thing.
Yeah, your family was way more than my family.
Here's the sex talk I got when I... First of all, you can't date till you're 16, right?
Oh, yeah.
That was pretty fast. That was hard and fast. Yep. And the sex talk I got from my mom was, when I started dating, don't sit in a parked car with a boy. That was it. Because that's going to get you in trouble.
That's actually more than I got. I got nothing.
You got nothing.
No.
So that was the extent.
Nothing.
So I didn't think it was a big deal driving down to St. George with my boyfriend to have sex while we were driving because we weren't parked. I don't know if I've ever told you that.
How did you not die in a fiery crash? He's very skilled.
He was a very skilled driver. It was great. We're flying down the highway.
Oh my
I don't even know. I think he put it on cruise control. But I kept thinking, well, I'm not parked.
Oh.
And it's not like we hadn't done it before.
That's
so we know what we're doing.
hilarious.
That's a good one, right?
Oh,
so I probably did.
Your mom
sit
thought
in a
that
car.
you would have to be parked in order to do something
I was
like
well,
that.
I'm not parked. So kids are smart.
You know how to get around the rules.
I remember in Young Women's Learning, I was going to get my own planet.
Oh, yes,
and
absolutely.
I was like creating a planet in my about what I would
I've done that my whole life. Like, you know, when you
Right?
like when something seems so wrong or backwards or unjust, you're like, when I get my own planet, I'm going to do it this way. I'm going to
Mine's going
change
to look
it.
just like Hawaii.
Mine, I was gonna get rid of women having periods. Like,
Yes.
that's the worst thing ever, right?
Absolutely.
So why do we? Yeah,
Right?
yeah.
Yes.
It
Like,
doesn't have to be that way.
perfect world.
I'm a god,
There
so
will be
I can make it.
There will
whatever.
be there's no acne. There's no periods. There's no weight gain.
No gross stuff.
Temple worship was a big thing. I watched my parents
Oh, yeah.
iron their temple clothes and go every week.
Now,
for
did
most
you
time.
see like the envelopes with the temple stuff in it with the apron?
I only saw the suitcases. I never saw what was in it until I went through the temple.
Yeah, neither did I. That was shocking.
But my
And
parents
we have to do
went
a whole
often.
episode about the temples. But yeah, my parents were very devoted temple goers.
Yes.
I'm pretty sure they went every single week, like my entire life.
Yeah.
I mean, there might have been weeks here and there that they missed, but
Same with mine.
like they were extreme temple
Right.
goers. I felt like that was extreme. I mean,
it was normal to me because that's what they did. And then
so
when
much.
I was like 12, if you were babysitting and they were going to the temple, you babysat for free.
Oh,
Like,
absolutely.
That was a service, right?
But I always babysat for free. I never got paid. You got paid for babysitting?
I hated babysitting, but when I did, and they weren't going temple, they would pay me. But,
Oh my gosh.
One of my genealogy.
Oh, yes.
Genealogy.
Oh, yes. Both of my
We are
parents are
doing
huge
it.
into
Yeah.
that. Yes.
That was a big thing for my parents. My grandma was big into that. My mom would always say, "Watch out for the 3 Nephites."
Oh, no way. She would say that?
Yes, like there's these 3 Nephites. They go around and they do good. So sometimes we would hear stories, and she's like, "I wonder if that was the 3 Nephites."
Oh my
So
gosh.
I was always looking for the 3 Nephites.
Oh, that's hilarious.
Then we always did, always family prayer, family scripture, and family home evening every week.
Yeah. We were pretty good about that. I don't know if we were always consistent, but man, I remember so many years, being woken up at 5 a.m. to do scripture study.
Wake up early, but it was.
Oh, we woke
not
up
that
early.
but
we would all like be half like dead asleep. Also, as part of our scripture study, my mom would have like scripture masteries that we had to memorize.
oh my gosh.
Oh yeah, so we would she had like this little flip chart, and we would practice a scripture like every day saying it, and then until it's memorized. I still have some of those scriptures like stuck in my head. So yeah, we did that too.
And then
Not so much on family home evening. I don't think we were super consistent on family home evening. Always family prayer and scriptures.
Yeah.
But I don't remember being super consistent
and my
on
dad
family home
was
evening.
the one that was always like, "Hey, it's." We always did it Sunday night because everyone was around. Well into my teens.
Wow.
It was very consistent.
Yeah.
Do you remember Mary Miss girls?
Oh yeah.
Being in the Mary Miss. I think it's just been replaced with activity days, but we learned a lot of home.
Oh yes.
Making skills.
Oh yes.
I mean, when I look back at the things, it was all about taking care of husband and children and home. And I'm kind of like, gag me. So
it was always cooking, cleaning, ironing. We learned how to iron.
Yes.
We learned how to make soap. We learned how to
bake
things. So dumb. And we made crafts.
Yeah,
like
members craft. But
yeah, all through Young Women's too, though.
The boys weren't doing that.
Yeah, but that wasn't just Mary Miss, right? That was
Women's.
all through Young Women's.
Yeah.
Like that is
No,
all
you're
we
right.
did.
And we had the personal progress.
Yes.
Do
you remember hearing about the activities the boys were doing? Like they were going hiking and they were playing basketball and they were
I don't.
They were doing like
they were doing those things.
Fun things.
Yeah.
They were outside playing sports.
Yeah.
They were doing fun things.
And we were learning how to fix their holes in their socks.
Yeah, we had to sew on buttons.
Socks,
we had to learn how to sew on buttons. And I remember there always being such a, like, it had to be spiritual. There had to be a spiritual message. There had to be a reason. You couldn't just do an activity for fun.
How about the wedding dress?
Oh God.
Fashion show.
I can't even. Oh, I can't even with the yeah.
Oh, it's just like, oh, bless their hearts, these leaders.
Yeah. So, I mean, I think it's so interesting, and we've talked about this a bunch, like seeing the difference between being parented, being raised in the church, and how we were parented, and how, first of all, we tried to parent the same way.
Right.
And I started out so strict with my son.
Yep.
I was this total, like, authoritarian, like, I controlled every step of his life.
Yep.
It's all about control, right? Mm-hmm. It's like down to what you wear and what you,
everything, what you put in your body.
What you put in your body,
what
everything.
You put on your body, what you see, what you hear. Because we're getting that from the church.
Yeah.
They control what we wear, what our underwear is.
Yeah. Oh, yeah. Yeah. And so
I did
that's
the same
why.
thing too. I was the same way.
Yeah. And the whole goal is like, we need to make sure we do all the things so that our kid is perfect, right, or, does all the right
family
things.
Forever.
Yes.
And we need them to look the part.
Right.
That was my big thing, is that is a reflection of how I parent. That's a reflection of what kind of mother I am.
Absolutely. Isn't there some quote, or maybe a scripture, I don't know, something about that the sins are on the heads of the parents or something? Like, if we don't teach our kids...
Yes. Oh, we should find that.
We should. If we don't teach our kids well enough, and they go astray,
right,
it's our fault, right?
Yeah.
And so, like, the forcing to go to church and all the things, like, that's what we did.
It's out of fear.
Yeah, it's totally.
We are parenting out of fear. And what is free agency if we're controlling every aspect?
I think it's hilarious.
And the church controls every aspect. So where's the free agency, actually? Because if you choose something outside of it,
then you're wrong. I laugh so hard at the free agency stuff now, because I'm like, supposedly that's like the best gift we've ever been given.
I would tell my kids about free agency.
Yeah, but we never got to experience actual...
No, the first time I had free agency that I can really remember is when I was in Hawaii and decided to take my garments off. I was done with the church and I never put my garments back on, and I went outside with a tank top on. It stuck with me.
Yeah, because that's such a profound, like, you're like, I just completely, actually did just what I wanted to do.
Something so simple.
Yeah.
Was huge to me.
Yeah.
So, and I had to do it in Hawaii because
not here.
Nobody knows who I am there. No one's going to judge me.
Because you don't want anybody to see you in your tank top.
They're going to talk about me.
Don't run into the bishop or something.
No, you can't. My garments the lines are gone. The garment lines are a real thing.
Oh, 100%
so
they are.
My whole parenting was about pleasing, putting on a good show.
Yeah. To
please my, people who would see us, and my parents. I wanted them to be proud of me. I wanted to be, and so it was, we've talked about this conversation. I was in the car. I had 5 kids. I've been married 15 years.
Okay.
And I'm in the car, and my mom calls, and she's really upset because my sister has done something. I don't know. And people are talking about it. And so I'm trying to calm her down. She's crying. She's upset. And she's like, you ruined our name because, I didn't get married in the temple. You ruined our name. It was so shameful not to get married. And I've been married 15 years, active in the church, sealed in the temple.
You'd already been sealed.
And I don't know where it came from.
Yeah. Because
I thought we had a good relationship, but that was out of the blue. She's like, our name is all we have, and you've ruined it.
So she was seeing whatever your sister was doing that she saw as a mistake or whatever. She basically saw it as your fault because you started the ball rolling.
Right.
You made the first mistake and ruined our name. So now everything that anybody else does, it's because you...
Our name is all we have, is what she said. Our name is all we have. Our reputation.
I don't know how you ruined... I don't get that.
And I thought, okay, I'm driving to Costco.
That is
the middle of the day. I was almost like, okay, I give up then. Like, I don't know.
Right.
And just kind of, the call ended abruptly and we never discussed it again. And
you still have never discussed it?
She's still holding on. No. She's still holding on to that I didn't get married in the temple. And, that was a shit show anyways, because it was, nobody wanted to be there. I mean, it was so shameful. I wish we would have just eloped.
Oh, yeah.
But anyways, it's fine. But
well, it's funny because I, not being a part of your family, but I was there at your wedding, I was totally unaware. I was actually, like, I literally had the thought, you know what? Like, her parents are being so supportive.
Yeah, it's because we put on a good show.
You guys are really good at faking it.
We are good pretenders.
Yes. Like I said last week, my family was the perfect fakers.
Yes.
Like, we were so good at pretending.
Yes.
And your family, I bought it. Mm-hmm. Like, they seemed like they put on a really beautiful wedding for you.
My grandma said, if you're not getting married in the temple, I'm not coming to your wedding. Oh, she didn't say that to me. She said that to my mom. She ended up coming. But how, like, what is that?
How can the church preach families when they teach people to reject their family if they make a mistake? Mm-hmm. It's conditional love.
Absolutely,
always.
100%.
That's one thing that I always felt from my mom was conditional love. It was conditioned on me making her happy and doing all the right things to make everything look good.
Well, and that's how I mothered. My mothering was conditional.
Yes.
The first 10 years, it was like, hey, you check all the boxes and you do everything, and then I'm going to love you. But if you don't, then I'm going to punish you, and it's going to be guilt. And not punish like physical, but like you're not going to forget it.
Yeah.
And you're going to fix it. And you're going to make it
and
better.
I'm going to make you feel bad about it.
Yes, I'm going to guilt you into it, because that's how I was parented.
The manipulation.
And guilt.
There's never an actual acceptance that from, like I told the story last week about, finally just allowing my son to leave the church. Yes. And yes, I did that, but I made sure he knew that I was disappointed. I mean, I still gave him the looks. I tried to be kind to him, but he knew there is no way, like how toxic. I just, it makes me sick.
We're going to guilt them to do things. Like that's basically, the basic plan for me.
Right. If you make people feel bad enough, they'll do the right thing.
Right.
Which is so backwards. That's literally the opposite of what it makes them want to do.
Oh, it's terrible.
Right?
Yes.
So, yeah.
And that's how I was parented, and I hated it.
Oh, yeah. Me too. It's so we have to give ourselves a lot of grace.
Right.
When I look back on the things I did, and it's mainly with my first child because I started to shift.
Yeah.
But I feel so much. I feel ashamed.
Right there.
I'm feel
right there with
so
you. Yes.
bad about the way I parented. So I have to constantly remind myself I didn't know better.
Right.
That's all I knew.
Yeah.
And but oh my gosh, if you asked my son, he would literally say, I have to tell my mom to stop apologizing, because we have had countless conversations where I've had to just like be so, I'm brokenhearted.
Right. I'm the same way. I've apologized to my son so many times. Tearful apologies.
Tearful.
I am so sorry.
Yeah.
Yeah. I don't know how I'll ever get over it. Because it was the same with my son.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. It's incredibly painful to think about the pain that I inflicted on my kid.
Yeah.
In the name of God.
Yes. It's out of love.
It's out of love.
And that's what the church does.
And just, I have your best interest at heart. Bullshit. Yeah. That is bullshit. And we were fed it, and it got stuck in our brains, and then we fed it to our kids.
Yeah.
And it's so painful, that reality. But it's so nice to see the contrast now.
Right.
Right?
That's what I was thinking.
Oh my gosh.
Like, it's night and day. Like, my first two kids, I have quite a gap in between my first two and my last three. Mm-hmm. And they had a different mother than my last three.
They totally did.
And my older kids will joke and be like, you got a different mom. You're welcome. Like, my son will say, you're welcome, because I had to break her in.
He broke you.
But it's liberating.
It is.
To be able to have, like, real conversations and thoughtful conversations with my children about the world and the choices they want to make. Mm-hmm. And we have, like, such a great relationship now. Mm-hmm. So I just, you just have to let all of that heaviness, the parenting, all of the weight from the church, the guilt, shame, and fear parenting tactic go. Yeah. And it's actually really easy.
I am shocked at how easy it was. Yeah. I mean, I did a 180-degree turn the second I realized that the church was not true.
Yeah.
And I don't know, sometimes I'm shocked at that. I'm like, how quickly, I mean, it's just unbelievable how quickly all of that goes away.
Yeah. And I was really scared.
Yes.
Like when I was done with the church, I was like, well, what do I do with my kids?
Oh,
that was a real fear is how do I talk to my kids about this? How do I transition them out of it?
Yeah.
Do I let them still go? There's all these questions. And it was actually really easy to have a conversation. We had multiple conversations. Mm-hmm. We would sit them down the first time and say, this, the church is not right for us. These are some reasons why. Mm-hmm. And do you have any questions? And, and then we'd have some other questions and conversations later on. And it actually was very organic how it came to be. Yeah. And once we had those conversations, even just the first one, you could see a weight lifted off of my kids. Yes. Like I could see, especially the boys. Yes. You could see the weight lifted off.
Same with my kids.
Like, we don't love church. We don't want to go, so it was, then we won't.
And isn't it so crazy? Because I think that we were afraid to have those conversations. I was holding on to the church for dear life because my husband had left.
Right.
And I was like, what are we going to do about the kids? Like, I have to make sure the kids stay in the church. I don't want them to follow him out, right? I had so much fear.
Now you have to save everyone.
Yeah.
Oh.
So much fear. And once I took a step in that direction and you realize nobody lights on fire and the house doesn't fall down, like, oh, we're fine.
Yeah. We're better than fine. Right?
All the fear was gone in like the blink of an eye. All the fear.
The hardest part, I think, is saying the words.
Yeah.
And to your kids having that conversation. Mm-hmm. I think that is the hardest part. I think it's really scary.
Yeah.
Maybe you don't know how they're going to react.
Yeah.
But I think that conversation is really important. And then lots of follow-up conversations.
Yeah.
My daughter still wanted to go to Young Women's and participate in the activities. And so sure.
Yeah.
Sure. Have those friends and stuff. But she also is the one that is coming to me saying, blacks couldn't have the priesthood. They couldn't go to the temple until... So she.
And that bugged her?
That's bugged her. Yes, yeah. She doesn't like it.
She probably is just like so confused by it. Like, why?
Well, and okay, so.
Makes no sense.
This is kind of off topic, but I grew up with an aunt who was gay, not in the church. Mm-hmm. One of the best people I know. Mm-hmm. Love her.
Yeah.
And so it was really hard for me to reconcile how she wasn't going to be in heaven with us because she loves a woman and is committed to her wife. Mm-hmm. That was really hard for me. So that's always been on my shelf. That was probably the first thing on my shelf. Was my aunt's such a good person.
Oh yeah, she's one of the best.
She really tries hard.
Oh yeah, she would do anything for you.
Yeah, she's very sincere and loving and kind. She loves fiercely.
She does.
So how do I teach that to my kids?
Yeah.
Because my kids see her. We're a family that does stuff together. My kids see her. We're very close to her and her wife. Close.
Yeah.
How do I tell my kids that, yep, she's a good person. We love her, but we won't be with her forever. I mean, it's just always such a contradiction.
Yeah, and the reason she's not in the church is because the church rejected her.
Rejected her, yes. Yeah. So how do I parent that? I danced around it. I avoided it.
Yeah, you just didn't talk about it.
Yes.
Yeah. Because I remember, it's been years back, that I asked you about it. I just said, so what about this? Like, what were you taught when you were little? And you said, nothing. My mom never said a word. It's your mom's sister.
It's my mom's sister.
Never said a single word.
We kind of just figured it out as we grew up.
Yeah. But it was like this, this thing you didn't talk about.
If you didn't talk about it, then it didn't exist.
Right.
That was a lot of the parenting I grew up with.
Yeah.
If we don't talk about it, it didn't exist.
It's not there.
So that was a real struggle for me if I don't know how to talk to my kids about this, so I just won't say anything. And that's terrible.
Yeah. That's not a way to live.
That's not a good way.
And going back to like the sex thing, we had no sex talks. Literally no. Mm-hmm. None.
Yeah.
We make a joke because apparently my little sister was very inquisitive and asked my mom lots of questions.
When she was younger?
When she was young.
Yeah.
And one day she asked my mom how a baby got in her tummy. Mm-hmm. And my mom told her that it's just a very special hug.
I love it.
And I heard that from my sister when I was probably 17, and I laughed so hard because, I'd heard things from friends and from health class. I never heard one single bit of sex education from my mother. Yeah. Never. Mm-hmm. I mean, you would think that maybe she would give me some advice about my wedding night. No, nothing. Mm-mm. We never discussed it.
In fact, my mom told me to have the talk with my little sister when she got married. She says, will you go and talk to her?
Oh my gosh. So she gave you the responsibility.
I had the responsibility.
Oh.
I've been married for a couple years, and clearly, but
Your mom still couldn't talk about it.
Was telling, yes. She's like, will you talk to her?
Is that our parents' generation
or
something?
Like, sure.
I think it is.
It is. It must be.
See, I didn't. My mom never asked me to talk to my siblings, and I never did.
And nobody talked to you about it.
No.
None of your sisters.
But I should have talked to my younger sisters, and I didn't.
Well, it's so taboo.
You know what, though? I just realized why. They were having sex before me.
That's right.
I mean, here's what happens when you don't talk about sex, when you have no sex education. All of your siblings get pregnant in their teen years. Right?
Yep.
Like, not all of them. But I had multiple sisters, several, get pregnant before they got married. Mm-hmm. And they had no idea about protection, about contraception. Like, that was never discussed. And so what happens is you don't have safe sex.
Right.
The kids are still going to have sex.
Sure.
They just aren't going to know what the hell they're doing.
Right.
And they're not going to know how to protect themselves and how to do it safely.
Yeah.
And they're not going to know about consent. They're going to feel, because women are made to feel like they are property of men.
Yes.
Like they are in charge of the men's thoughts.
Mm-hmm. Absolutely.
Like their virginity is owned by a man.
Right.
That takes it from them. Like, that is such bullshit teachings.
Bullshit.
I freak out over that when we were so talking.
When you look back, how naive and sheltered we were. Yeah. As far as sex goes. Yeah. I mean, oh my gosh.
Yeah.
Throw us a bone.
And I can't.
Boner.
Or a boner. I love that. I wasn't way better with my kids initially, like when they were young, talking about sex. My oldest was very inquisitive and would ask us a lot of questions, so we talked to him pretty early on, but my daughters weren't. And it wasn't until like 8th grade health that they had to like come home and talk to their parents about these topics. And we had to do a packet together. And it was forced upon me, and I still felt really uncomfortable with it. Well, once I left the church, all that discomfort went away. I was like, hey, this is a thing.
This is nothing to be ashamed about. This is a huge part of who we are as human beings. Yeah. Is that we're sexual.
Yes.
There's nothing wrong with that.
Yes. So when I had left the church, and all of us had left the church, my oldest daughter had started dating somebody, and she was 17. And I was like, hey, when you guys are ready to start being sexually active, let's make sure that, let's get you an IUD, or let's get you on the pill or whatever. Like, are you guys, is this a topic you guys, and they'd only been dating like a couple months, but I knew like, hey, this is coming. They're 17. Yes. And she's like, yeah, Mom, I think that's a good idea.
It's amazing. I just can't even imagine.
Yeah. So we made an appointment. We went to the doctor. We got an IUD. The doctor's like, so are you sexually active? And she said no. And the doctor was shocked. She looked at me and she's like, so you're doing this preventatively? And I'm like, yeah. She's like, oh my gosh, this is so wonderful.
This is the first time ever.
Yeah. She's like, you're a wonderful mother. She was so proud of me.
Yeah.
And I was like, yeah, it's so crazy how rare this is. Like, why are we not doing this for our kids? Like, so, I mean, I've known people who knew their son was sexually active and was not using protection. And they said, we will not give him condoms because that will make him think he can do it more.
Oh, gotcha. Right. So then you can just raise the grandbabies.
That's logical thinking, right? Like, we don't want to encourage it.
I get it, though. Like, that's kind of how...
That's how we used to be, I guess.
Used to be, is you're giving them permission. They're doing it anyways. I know. I was. It's just like...
Yeah.
I think it's amazing. What a great trend to start.
Yeah.
Getting on birth control.
Yeah.
As a preventive measure to having babies.
Yeah.
When you're not ready for them.
Yeah.
It's insane.
And
that's crazy. Crazy talk.
Do you remember? It's total crazy talk. Do you remember when we were kids hearing things like, well, if you're old enough to have sex, then, or if you're mature enough to have sex, then you're mature enough to have a baby. Like, you shouldn't be having sex if you're not ready to have a baby.
Right.
Like, it's your fault if you get pregnant.
It's a punishment.
It's a punishment. And
for the rest of your life.
Yeah. And so stop doing grown-up things if you're not ready. Well, guess what? Sex isn't really a grown-up thing. It's a youth thing. It starts pretty young, having those, desires and the sex drive and all the hormones. They are raging through their bodies.
It is terrible.
I'm kind of pissed because I feel like I missed out.
Right?
On like the funnest sex I could have had in my life. I mean,
I'm telling you.
I'm having pretty good sex now, but it took a while.
Sure.
Like, that messes with you for a long time. Like, being such a taboo, and then suddenly you're supposed to do it all the time. That messed with me for a while. Yeah, and I didn't know anything about sex.
I think it does.
I thought it was just supposed to happen and be glorious.
Right.
And it wasn't that simple.
No one tells you. Mm-mm. For the girls, it's not that simple.
No, it took me so long to figure out my body and how I respond and what makes me feel good. Like, it was really hard.
Have a toy.
Oh, yeah.
A small vibrator.
We have to do a whole episode on sex. Yeah. Can we do that? Yeah. We need to do an entire episode. Also, because I think we can learn a lot from you. You are the sex queen.
I don't know about that.
Yes,
I'm a little bit more adventurous.
Yes. I need to learn some things from you because I'm pretty lame. But isn't it so nice that, like, we can talk about these things with our kids because like, my daughter can come to me, like, when they did it the first time, like, she came and told me and I was like, oh my gosh. I was like, how was it? Was it great? Was it wonderful? Like, we talked about that. And I felt no, like,
she's in a loving, committed relationship.
Yeah, I felt nothing negative about that at all. Yeah. You know what? I've actually, and maybe I'm crazy, but even if she wasn't in a loving, committed relationship.
You're right.
If she wants to do it, as long as it's consensual and safe.
You're absolutely right. Do you see the Mormon sneaking out of me?
Yes.
Yes.
Yeah.
Still in there.
Yeah.
Still got a little bit in there.
Yeah. It's unbelievable how much this changed.
Sex podcast while we're drinking wine.
Oh, we should. Definitely.
Because I get slutty and loose when I drink wine.
Slutty and loose. Oh my gosh.
Yeah, our relationship with our kids is just so much better.
Yeah. Yeah.
Parenting free.
Yeah.
No guilt, shame, and fear.
And manipulation. That's been the story of my life, is being, my feelings and my actions have been manipulated and tried to be controlled by a parent. And then I turned around and did that to my kids. Yeah. So that's been the biggest thing for me. Leaving the church was fantastic, but parenting after Mormonism is golden. Yeah. It is the best thing ever.
Hallelujah.
Hallelujah. Amen. I don't feel fear. The fear phobias that the church implants in you from an early age are so
Just go watch Brad
toxic.
Wilcox's talk. That is what the church is teaching. If you want to know, I mean, that's a basic raw thing right there.
Yeah.
Fear, guilt, and shame. You will lose everything.
Yeah.
It's terrible.
I'm really hoping, because we got out of the church when my youngest was 7. Mm-hmm. And it's really funny because I really don't think that she has, and it might come out later, but I feel like she doesn't have a lot of that, like, mind game, like, indoctrination, brainwashing. I think
it'll be interesting.
I think she got out of a lot of that because even the last few years before we left the church, from the time she was like 4 or 5, my husband had left and I was progressing, and so I mean, okay, this last week she has started saying, "Oh my God," and I don't know why, but it brings me joy
because it was so. I mean, my mother will not even watch shows
that say, "Oh my God,"
or they say Jesus Christ and take the Lord's name in vain. She won't watch it.
My daughter has said Jesus Christ before, like mad, like Jesus. No, just Jesus.
Yeah.
Jesus.
As a swear.
And it makes me laugh. Yeah. I love it. I don't, that may sound really bad to some people, but I think it's hilarious and I love it because it just makes me feel like she doesn't have the guilt and shame about words. It's just a word. It's just
It'll be interesting
an expression.
To see. It'll be interesting to watch her grow.
Yeah. And I love that she has several non-Mormon friends. So I think that helps because we're still in a very Mormon community.
Surrounded.
Yeah. But she has found several friends that are not Mormon and that, and I think kids who are Mormon are kind of like staying away.
Sure. Well, yes.
And that's fine.
Yeah. It is
so
fine.
be it.
So
that
good.
Doesn't.
And if anything, she's going to be an example. I mean, they're going to watch her.
Yeah.
And they're going to think, oh, well, she didn't burst into flames.
Yeah.
Like, she's a good person. Like, I didn't think you could be a good person outside of the church. I honestly thought, oh, those poor people.
Yeah. I wonder why you thought that. Right?
Oh.
And you felt pity for them.
Oh, yeah.
Did you feel pity for everyone?
Well, growing up in young women and stuff,
I
had some non-member friends, and I was always trying to figure out ways to invite them to activities and bring them to church, because that missionary work is every member a missionary, right? Yeah. It's just so...
You felt sad for them. Like they were missing all the joy that they could have in their lives.
Seriously.
Can you believe it? It's just insane. So yeah, I highly recommend leaving the church and then parenting your kids.
And parenting, yes, do that first.
Parenting kids outside of Mormonism is so freeing and...
It's the best.
Yeah.
Oh, it's just the best. Because you're not looking at your kids to give you something. Right. Like, they don't have to prove anything. Yep. They just can be.
Yeah.
Oh, it's beautiful.
It is beautiful.
And I'm kind of jealous.
Yeah.
I wish that I would have had the opportunity.
Way long ago.
Right. Yeah. I wish that's how. But we do what we're breaking this generational trauma.
We are breaking the cycle.
I hope we are.
Oh.
Trying.
Are you stressed that your kids will date and marry other Mormon kids?
I'm really not. I'm not going to live in fear anymore. So maybe they do. Then we roll with it and we deal with it. And just like maybe they do.
I really hope they don't.
I just want them to be happy, genuinely happy, and not trying to prove something. I feel like I was always trying to prove something and be worthy. I always wanted to just do the checklist so that I was a worthy kid, so that I could earn my love. Earn the love, earn my place.
Earn that so-called unconditional love.
Just,
just your worth.
Yeah.
Your worth and, God's love has to be earned.
Yeah.
In the church. I always felt that too.
One thing we talk about too is Heavenly Mother. Oh. That's one thing. I have a picture of a Heavenly Mother giving a daughter a blessing in my house. Mm-hmm. And we replaced the proclamation of the family with one that is more appropriate. That's not, that's inclusive of all. Yeah. Any family can, families look all different ways and shapes, and we talk about it, and just those things is Heavenly Mother. And sometimes I take charge of like who's going to bless the food. Do
you guys still say prayers?
We not always.
We don't.
But like when we have a big family gathering.
Oh yeah.
You know how it's like.
Oh yeah, you've got to say a prayer because all your family.
Which is fine, right. And we still do sometimes. But where the husband is supposed to say.
Oh yeah, he's in charge. He's supposed to ask.
I'm in charge.
Yeah,
and I do it.
I love that.
And it's just those little things that.
I bet that bugs the crap out of your mom.
Probably.
I love it.
I don't know. But it's just those little things why wouldn't you talk to your Heavenly Mother?
I know.
Can you imagine never talking to your mom again? Or your kids never talking to you? You can't. But your kids saying, no, you can only talk to your dad. Yeah. It's just, wow.
How did we accept that? How are we okay with that? Well, first of all, I'm pretty sure most of my life I didn't know she existed.
Right. And she's so sacred or something. It's just
we have to keep her a secret. It's because
it's a patriarchy. I mean, I could go on for days. Like
we have to do a whole episode on a patriarchy.
Give me 7 hours.
And we can go on and on. But yes, I love that.
But little things this is how I parent now. Little things, just looking for ways to strengthen them, build a relationship with them that's sincere and and that real, is sincere, where they don't have to earn my love. Mm-hmm. It's still parenting is a shit show. Anyways.
Oh yeah, no, there's still a lot of hard things,
dude. It's a totally different game after the church. Mm-hmm. So much better,
so much less pressure. They get to just be who they want. I love that last week you said something about how your kids don't want to have kids, or, you know, they're not sure they want kids. And you're like, that's fine. Yeah. I'm still having a hard time with that because I feel like I'm owed grandkids.
Well,
I'm going to really try, though. I'm not putting pressure on them for sure.
I say that. It's fine if you don't want to, because I really think they'll change their mind.
I think they will,
But I think they should wait until they're 30.
Oh, yeah.
Like, go and live your life.
No pressure.
Oh, my gosh.
Yeah, my daughter is moving in with her boyfriend next week, and they are 19 years old. This is the same boy from back when she was 17. Same boy. He's great. And I'm completely fine with it. There is no reservation in me whatsoever that feels like I have to feel bad about this choice that she's making. I think it's fantastic.
But do you find yourself trying to defend it a little bit?
Oh, to my family? Yes.
Me too.
Yeah. I haven't even said anything to my family.
I'm trying to justify it.
Yes.
And then I pull back and I'm like, no.
There's no reason why you should have to explain, give an explanation. Yeah. I haven't said anything to my family yet, but that's definitely in the back of my mind. Like, I'm trying to be like, yeah, you know, when it comes up, oh yeah, they moved in together. That I'm going to have to be able to say that with some confidence and not feel like I have to explain it to anybody. Yeah. But I'm perfectly fine with it. I'm happy for them. Like,
oh, right. I know. My son and his girlfriend have been living together they've been together for 3 years, and they've been living together for a year. So, I don't know. Whatever. Yeah. But I'm sure, my mom's head is like spinning when she heard that. I know that they're not okay with that. Yeah. But what are they,
what are they going to do? Can't do anything or say anything. Yeah, it's fantastic. Yeah. So this has been super fun. We have so many, it's like we keep stopping ourselves and going, we have to do a whole podcast on that, because there are so many topics that we could dive really deep into. And maybe next episode we need to talk about sex more, because like I said, she is the sex queen. It is.
Oh, wow. I do enjoy sex.
I know you do.
I really love having sex with my husband. Yeah. He's a pretty good time.
Oh my gosh, it's going to be so good.
And it's so excited for the next episode. After leaving the church. Yeah.
And we actually get to wear the underwear we want to wear. Baby. Yeah. Oh, this is going to be so good. So you're definitely going to want to come back and listen to our next episode. It's going to be really, really great. So, all right. I think we've come to about an hour. We're close to that. Yeah. I think we've covered all the things we wanted to talk about. And more.
It's so easy to just go talk. Go. Yeah.
Next episode, we're going to talk about sex. We're going to have some wine.
Yes.
It's going to be a good time. Definitely come back for that. This is so fun. It really is giving me life. I love it.
It is fun. I'm having a good time.
All right. Okay. We'll see you next time. See you later. Bye, guys.